by the way. Like, I've just wrapped up. It's a total feast right now. Like I've been working nonstop since the last time we recorded.
Is me.
Yeah.
And and for me right now, it's work. It is not, I can't lie. It's not anything I enjoy, but it pays the bills, which is fine. There are episodes of that.
I can't complain. I mean, actually what I'm doing, I'm coding. So the more I learn their systems, the better I get at it. So then the more proficient I get. So I get, you know what I mean? I'm not like a week ago, I'm struggling with every little.
That's where I am. I'm struggling to figure out exactly
every little thing's a struggle.
Want.
Like, how do I do this? What code do I use here?
Yes.
What's your processes? How do I, and now I'm just like throwing off emails to the project manager, finish this, moving on to this, just so you know, I'm off the afternoon. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's flowing now, which is really nice. Yeah. So, all right. You ready to go live?
I will wish you. I've got my LaCroix, which rhymes. I am like a total addict. I had that moment before we went on live. You just
reminded me to get my water. I have a water.
I had a thought of, for some reason, I think it's because I didn't sleep a lot, that, okay, well, let's go live and then I can share this briefly. Okay.
I'll wish you a happy new year. That's how we'll start.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the wycwyc podcast, episode 33. Ronnie here with
Carla. I was like, with what? With a drink? I was like, what are you with? I've got my LaCroix.
I have my water. My water. We're set. And I have to wish you a happy new year in October.
And it's so funny that my child is so impressed because the Jewish year is different than I'm going to say secular year, and it's 5777 is the year. And so when they asked, we actually went to synagogue and they were saying, does anybody know what the year is? And that's so easy to remember. I knew. Yeah. And so now she thinks I'm like a mastermind,
a genius of like Jewish history. And
yes. And I was like, well, I laugh because it's one of those, what day was it? I guess it was only Monday. We took Monday off and went to synagogue. So I've been behind and discombobulated all week. But this whole Jewish New Year, celebrating the New Year, when the majority of the world and my friends aren't thinking the same thing, that it's a fresh start, it's a new year, has really gotten me thinking, and it always returns back to fitness and healthy living and thinking about New Year's resolutions. And I was actually invited, I think I shared this with you a few weeks ago, to speak on basically setting New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions at a synagogue. And I had a moment of, wait, what? It's only September. Oh. So it's that weird duality of almost like living in two worlds.
Right.
Most of us are thinking, okay, we've got to either, if you're my motivated friends, work really hard to try and nail all those goals before January. And if you're me, more lackadaisical people, you think, well, I've got a few months and then I'll start thinking about if there are any new intentions I want to set or that kind of thing.
Right. Or if you're like me, you're not even thinking about it at all anymore.
I know. Well, and I don't know. It's the book and being asked to speak about the book. And I've been doing a bunch of that recently, which is a little surprising, but which has resolutions and intentions on my brain. And then in the middle of all this, and I'll admit that I had forgotten, the Jewish New Year comes up. And so we spend there 10 days. Monday was Rosh Hashanah, head of the year, which is the new year.
You have to educate me because I don't know anything. So this is fascinating to me.
And it's not even because I'm Jewish. And so are a lot of my friends. And so they didn't know much of this either. But we have 10 days. And so there's 10 days between last Monday and the next holiday, which is Wednesday. And they're called the Days of Awe, but basically AWE. You spend that time. There's a whole twist about repenting and asking for forgiveness, which is unimportant for this scenario. But you spend it thinking about who you are, who you want to become. And we did a really beautiful service Monday night, which reminded me of what so many of my weight loss friends or friends who are just really working on creating a new self in the upcoming year in January do, where we went down there's a creek by us, and the entire congregation went down, and the rabbi went, and you bring a tiny piece of bread and you say a couple prayers, but mostly it's kind of a more recent creation. So the prayers are English, and it's basically, what do you want to get rid of in this new year? And this tiny piece of bread that you throw into the creek is symbolizing that for you.
Yeah, I'm sure the kids love it. Like it did.
Yes. And I found, though, at 47, it was really one of the most powerful times I've ever done that, because it was a
Wow.
time where I get sick and cynical about New Year's resolutions and intentions in January, because you're beaten to death
Yes.
by it in
New
the
year, new
print
you,
media.
blah,
Yes,
blah. Yeah.
all
Like
of it.
it's like a media storm.
Yes. And I felt like, oh, I haven't really thought much about this or devoted some specific time to this in months and months. And just taking that minute or 5 of, what do I want to cast off by throwing this away? What habits, like we talked about last week?
Right.
And what do I want to look like in this upcoming year? What do I want for myself? So I was very much in that mindset of, it's a new start, it's a fresh start, it's a new year. And then oddly enough, this is my article tie-in, which I don't know. I mean, I really enjoyed the article, but I'm curious. There are parts of it where I found it a little bit weight loss centric. But I was skimming through the New York Times later in the week, and there was an article. It's one of their, I want to call it a blog. It's
in like the well section.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would almost call that a blog post. But where they were talking about how quite literally today or next week will be the lowest you weigh in the entire year, that we are all expected to gain. Now, I can't remember exactly what the statistics were, but now I cannot find the specific number. But this is our lowest in these couple of weeks. This will be the smallest we'll ever be. And the quote that he said, which struck me because it kind of fits in with it being Rosh Hashanah and the Jewish New Year, is this blogger said, instead of trying to come up with a New Year's resolution to lose weight, which would be 3 months from now,
Right.
why don't you set an October 1st resolution to gain less in the first place?
Yes. This is an ongoing theme, I think, that's starting to emerge.
It is. And it was really timely for me. I think I might have, had it not dovetailed so perfectly with my thinking about New Year in October, I might have scoffed at it a little bit more and kind of rolled my eyes. But it really reminded me, and it was something that I thought about a lot during the service on Monday, and we talk about in our book. We're never as far from who we want to be or the intentions we want to set or the healthy living path we want to be on as our very next choice. We can get up any morning.
Right. We don't have to wait for some magical January 1st number.
It can always be our new year.
I've always said this too, like there's like a little bit of a mind shift when you go from the throw it away mentality. Oh, the next 3 months, there's all these holidays coming. I have all these parties and I'm going to be drinking and like, oh, I'm just gonna do whatever. I'm going to eat whatever I want and not worry about it until the new year. And it's like this very much of the whole, I throw my hands up, I give up, and I'm just going to binge for the next 3 months. Yeah. So then I could start fresh on January 1st. And I think once you get rid of that mindset, it's a much better approach to think, like this article infers. And I always phrase it this way, like for my Christmas present to myself this year is that I'm not going to gain as much weight, or I'm going to food journal until Christmas, or I'm going to go to yoga twice, or whatever it might be. Like, so to set kind of intentional goals as the gift to yourself that will be unveiled come Christmas. So that way, or, if you celebrate Christmas, whatever you celebrate at the end of the year. Right. And then when the new year starts, you're not starting behind, you're starting ahead, and you're just carrying that momentum into the new year instead of the opposite, which is what myself included, most of us have done or continue to do, which is just throw the last 3 months of the year away and then just think we'll start fresh. And then, we will for a few hours or days, maybe a week or so. Then I wish I had the statistic on how long we actually start to drop our New Year's resolutions, because it's pretty quick.
Oh, and there's some date. Yes, I remember reading something about this ages ago where it's like, in fact, we may have recorded that day.
I think we have.
Yes, where it was like, this is the day. I found it fascinating, the article, and this is almost an aside, but the extra holiday pounds you gain starting now, anything that happens in these next 10 weeks takes an average of 5 months to come off.
That's
10
ridiculous.
weeks, 5 months. What it also reminds me of, and this really ties in, I pity our non-Jewish listeners who might be thinking, I don't care, but it's the theme of personal responsibility. I was taking a walk with my neighbor, because I'm becoming like you are with Bill, with my neighbor. And she said, wow, that seems very fear-based to me. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, taking these next 10 days and focusing on what you've done wrong and asking forgiveness. And she said, that feels very fearful to me. I think she's Catholic, but lapsed, whatever she is. And I said, for me, it feels really empowering. And it's because it's empowering and proactive to seize control and say, I'm sorry, I screwed up. Next year, I want to be this. I apologize. I didn't mean to wrong you. Do you forgive me? And it's the same thing what you were saying with the plan of, you know what? I'm not abdicating total control. I'm not giving up and just saying, well, it's inevitable. I'm going to gain weight over these next 10 weeks and I'll struggle with it all the next 5 months after that. It's so empowering and affirming and reminds us that we value ourselves to commit now and seize control rather than tossing it all away.
Right. Well, it's funny. I read the article and I think I'm coming from this. I think a couple years ago, I would have 100% agreed with you.
Okay.
And now when I read these articles, I don't feel empowered. I don't have the fear. It's not a fear thing for me. And it's not empowering. I'm more coming to it from a place of this again. Like, can we just stop talking about it? And I don't know if it's because I'm in my own headspace right now, but like when I read certain lines in the article and I'm trying to find one where I think I defaultly kind of rolled my eyes.
Oh, how about, was it the congratulations? If you're anything like Americans, your weight will reach an annual low this week.
Yeah, it just seemed, I was like, yeah, you're just regurgitating what everybody knows. Yes, everyone gains weight in the holidays. But then I think wrapping it up in this article with like the statistics, like using data from thousands of users, the 3 tracked weight gain and loss among adults in the United States over the year, starting in August, Americans accounted for nearly 1,800 participants. So it's mostly Americans. And then they found different patterns in the country, which was kind of fascinating.
Yes.
But here, weights peaked around New Year's in the United States and Germany. In Japan, they peaked in early May around their Golden Week holiday. Yes. And weights hit rock bottom at the beginning of December in Japan. All right, where is it though? So I just thought, do we know? It's like what's that when they're like researching something we were already aware of? Like we all know. Like, do we really need specific?
And do we? I sometimes think that, and I wonder, are we just super educated in this realm? I couldn't decide.
Yes, and is it really? It's not changing our habits. No. Is knowing that most Americans gain weight between October and December changing anyone's habits?
No, but I loved how it was the inclusion of, and I know that this resonated with me so much because I was right in that New Year's mindset in October, the line, and it would have been more powerful, where he says, you'd be better set to do an October 1st resolution and never gain the weight in the first place.
Which is a great recommendation.
Or if he would have continued with that few sentence reminder I craved of, in fact, any day can be the day you choose to recommit to a healthy lifestyle. Because I think that's it. And again, even that's super trite, but we forget it's, okay, I'll start on Monday. I'll start at the end of the weekend. I'm waiting till New Year's. And it's that reminder, which I think the Jewish New Year is for me because it comes at a time when no one else is thinking of New Year's. It's that reminder of any time can be when I decide this behavior isn't serving me. I'm going to change it, or I need to recommit.
Right. I actually purposely used to start things on Wednesdays just because it was random and in the middle of the week as almost like the self-therapy of, no, I don't need to wait till Sunday to start running again. I can run today. It's Wednesday. I'm going to start my streak in the middle of the week. It would just be like random things like that. Okay. But I think it's the last. Here, this is the last paragraph in the article. Stepping on scales more frequently during the holiday season might help, he says. Participants who weighed themselves 4 or more times a week gained less weight and dropped it more quickly by the end of January. First, I'd like to know.
That was not my favorite.
No, and
I wanted to end the paragraph before.
I'd like to know the data, where he got that data from. And then, because I do feel like, and I've flip-flopped on my scale views for the last 10 years. You know what I mean? I think it just depends on where you are, what your goals are. But I thought, you're not getting me to step on a scale through the holidays. It's actually, I feel like the worst thing I can do. It's like the opposite. Yes. And some people kind of fall into that, they need to see it, they need to face it. And then if you're not stepping on it, then you're avoiding it, I'm like, no, I'm not. It doesn't serve me. It's not, all I do is knowing my own habits that if I start to see the numbers frankly, I don't even know what the number is. If I start to see the number at all, then I start concentrating on it and thinking about it, and it overtakes my life. And I think to myself, over the last 10, 11 years when I first started, and I blogged about weight loss, and I weighed my food, and I got on the scale every day, and I journaled, and I kept track of my weight. I would actually weigh in, and I had data and charts of my weight, and that served. It worked. I was able to lose weight that way, but then that was also a huge chunk of my time and attention, just
So do you
in
think
the name of doing that. And I think once you get past that hump and you start to develop healthier habits, yeah, you're going to gain a little weight through the holidays. But if you maintain your healthy habits, it all evens out at the end. And we're so worried about these little blips, like a yearly cycle of, oh, I ate a couple more cookies than I normally do between November and December, so the scale went up. But I don't know. I feel like I'm very much in a moment of, I'm in a place of zen anymore with my weight and how I approach it.
Yes. And I think you're right. That last paragraph with the 4 more times a week did kind of take away from it for me. And although I loved, instead of trying to come up with a New Year's resolution to lose weight, do the October 1st resolution to gain less, what would have been even more powerful for me would be make an October 1st resolution to maintain as many of your healthy habits as you can through the holiday season. I think there's such a focus on weight loss over health, but I did enjoy the fact he said about being proactive. It's about, because I think you say this frequently as well, just not being passive. It makes me think he wasn't articulating as well as he might have the don't let life happen to you, consume consciously, like we've talked about before, and strive to do the best you can, but begin to think about this October 1st. Don't mindlessly chomp through the holiday season. Wake up January 1st and beat yourself up over all of it.
Well, let me address what I think is an elephant in the room, which is it's already October, whatever, 6th now, because we're recording this and hopefully posting it on the same day. So we're already 6 days into an October. So how many people would maybe read this late or hear our podcast late and they go, oh, I already missed it. Oh, well, I might as well. Which I feel like we just keep perpetrating that mentality by doing these things.
By putting a date on it. I mean, what if it would have said, perhaps it's better to make a resolution before the holiday season to maintain your healthy habits as best you can. You make a great point, because I read this on the 3rd. It was literally Rosh Hashanah. And I thought, I'm thinking about new Carla and intentions for Carla for the new year. How interesting, this secular journalist is thinking the same thing as well. But you're right. You're right.
I just feel like
it
we're too late. That, and again, I like, it's funny because I used to be that person, but anymore I'm starting to see it. I'm like, oh, all we're doing is continuing those same habits and cycles of, I need a special day to start. I need some kind, instead of what we advocate in the book, which is just do it. Just makes there is no like magic day. Like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Like, who else brought this up to me? There's something I saw a video. I posted it on my own personal fan page, Facebook page. And it was this mom and daughter who did a 100-day challenge. I think it's a hashtag. I'm not sure. I didn't have time to really kind of dig into it and research it, but it was a 100-day challenge where they would change their eating habits and exercise for 100 days. And they did kind of this whole awesome, like before and after video where they showed what they looked like before and then after 100 days, and they lost like a total of 70 something pounds together in 100 days. It was really awesome and inspiring. And I saw a comment somewhere and it said, at that time, it was approximately 100 days to the end of the year. And they're like, oh, just imagine, kind of like my approach of doing this too. Like, hey, just what you imagine if you would do that, start doing what they did now, then by the end of the year, same concept as this article, you would be starting ahead of the game because you know, like that. And so things like that, where like you could start a 100-day challenge anytime, you know what I mean? But then I thought, again, that comment kind of made me think. I was like, yeah, but now it's 80 days to the end of the year or whatever it is. And people are like, oh, I don't have enough time. Because I feel like you mentioned before, that I mention all the time, if you want an excuse, you'll find an excuse. And sometimes those dates kind of give us these built-in excuses. Like, oh, I already missed it, or I already ate an M&M, so my diet's over, or it's already October 6th, so I can't do October 1st resolutions. You know what I mean? Like those are like the mental roadblocks that I'm hoping like sometimes somebody will read something in our book to help them get over that
That is
mentality.
a great point. And that did not occur to me. I was so excited that somebody had mentioned being proactive and starting.
Which is all great stuff.
Yes, but it's interesting. It's the vantage points, and what I think that's the thing as well with our book, with any self-help or even quote unquote diet book. You bring so much to the table when you're reading it. I've read books, self-help type things, and said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Recommended it to a friend. They're like, yeah, not so much. But we all bring our own unique perspective and life experiences. I didn't even see that or think that in the October 1st. That's really fascinating.
Well, I think it's just because of the headspace I'm in, because it's really almost scary for me to say this. Does it make sense? I am so over the weight loss thing. Like, I think it's because I'm in a good place, and my habits are kind of set, and I'm happy with my habits. I'm super active. I work out every day. I lift heavy weights. I'm muscular. I'm strong. I'm getting stronger all the time. And I'm thinking, I've so far removed from wanting, and you and I have talked about this so much. Like, I've always was in that mindset of wanting to be smaller and smaller, and
Yes,
less space. And that's something that, because I've always been tall and big, and and so my whole childhood experience was always feeling awkward and too tall and too big for a girl, and all my friends were tiny. And so, that's my background and my history. And I think after a 10-year experience of losing the weight and getting to a small point for my frame, and then realizing even though I'm small, I'm still big because, I'm 5'9".
Yes.
I'm small. I'm just always going to feel bigger than most of the people around me. And then realizing what I needed to do to maintain that smaller frame on a 5'9" body, which was basically not eat much. And then whether or not I'm willing to not eat much for the rest of my life just to maintain a certain physique, which I'm not sure why I need that physique. When my set point weight, with me being just active, eating, indulging when I want to, being very wycwyc about my food choices, but with the focus on like nutrition and just wanting to feed my body good things, but also have my cake, or in my case, my beer. But all that combined, I feel like I finally matured to the point of realizing the payoffs and being like, you know what, I'm over this. I don't have to starve myself to be a certain frame. This is my frame, and I'm just going to focus on my habits, and then whatever body those habits produce, then I have to be happy with that because I'm happy with what I'm doing.
That is so key as well. It's that, and I love that, because you and I have a mutual friend. I've said this frequently online and off. She looks amazing. They are not habits that I want to acquire. Lifting for hours and hours. She looks phenomenal. I will never look that good. But it's what you say. I know what I'm willing to do. Okay, look at the physique that what I'm willing to do will give me. Okay. It's
right. Yeah. And I think
so helpful.
Sometimes I think, well, and it comes with maturity. When you're younger, when I was in my 20s, I wanted to, eat like a truck driver and look like a Victoria's Secret model. And it's just not, that's not going to happen.
Or maybe you're dating and perhaps the vessel is that much more important to you, and you.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. It's whatever your focus is. And I admire, like, I have one friend who I used to work out with. She's kind of moved on with her trainers, but she's a physique model, and her body is it's amazing. I mean, as another human being admiring another human being, her body fat percentage, she does those shows, she's winning, she's got sponsorships now. She's a professional physique athlete. I don't know what you call those people.
Yeah.
Is that what they call them? Okay.
Yes.
Amazing. And she's tall like me. And so I was like, oh, if I had an ounce of the diligence that she has, I could probably kind of look like that. Oh, I'd have zero desire to do it, though. I mean, this woman has to weigh out her food.
And I think that is getting older. Like, I used to look at women like that when I was younger, like you, because when I was younger, I was much more about the vessel because I was single and I was dating, and I cared. Well, I couldn't care any less than I do now, but I cared more about how I presented myself. And so I used to look at women, and my sister-in-law is one of them. I think about she doesn't care, and not at all in a derogatory way. And she's so unbelievably comfortable with that. And it's what it would take. It would probably take giving up bowling, giving up guitar, giving up your beer.
Right. Well, and
to look like your friend.
Me, giving up like so like I talk about this all the time on the blog. Like I've come to the conclusion that I'm never going to get the husband to not want to go out and eat lunch out. It's just not going to happen.
Yes.
So like that's our time. Our kids, we're lucky enough to be able to work from home, that we can see each other without the kids for a half hour, you know, at Chipotle, or if he wants to go wherever. We went to the local sandwich shop yesterday, and I got, sometimes I get a salad, sometimes I get a wrap. Yesterday, I was like, I want a sandwich on bread, like real bread. And I'm not going to feel guilty about
and my friends who compete bring their own lunches to those kind of places. I love being older because I do not care what anybody else does. If it makes them happy and it's not hurting anybody,
totally.
Yay. But I'm not motivated.
I admire, I don't even think it comes down to motivation. I'm just not inspired by it. So if it's something that you don't want to attain, like
that's what it is. So I don't have the motivation if I don't want the end goal.
Because you don't want the out, you know what I mean? You've weighed the steps it would require to get that outcome, and you're like, no, that's not for me. I think the biggest struggle for me is more having like that, is being okay with that in a other sense. Because it's easy to say that, like, oh, and then you'll catch a glimpse of yourself. You're like, oh, I put on a couple of pounds. And then I'm like, do I want to worry about this? I'm like, no. You know what? No, I'm eating good. I'm exercising, and all my clothes are still fitting, but I don't look the way I did like 5 years ago. And I'm like, but you never will. I don't know. I've really come to the conclusion that, again, body is a result of my lifestyle, which I've gotten some heat over saying that, but I can't come up with another way to express it with words.
And I think that same thing, it's all choice. And I do look back at pictures and think, oh, I had bigger muscles when I was lifting. It's those when I was lifting, those last 4 words.
Yes.
Okay. That's not, and it is a choice, but I relate so much to what you just said. And I was thinking it this morning, and I had no plans to bring it up on the podcast, but not in the realm of fitness, but in like every other realm. I've got enough happening on the home front that I do not need some high-powered career where I'm traveling all the time. Right now, I feel it's really important for me to make money, but have a job and be around to lay the foundation I want for our daughter through middle school, because she's starting middle school next year. But I still occasionally, damn Facebook, find myself seeing somebody else doing something and have that moment of, that's amazing. And not that's amazing for her, because I'm genuinely happy for this person, but just, do I want that? I should have that. No, I shouldn't. I'm not even working toward it. But it's that fleeting moment of, I'm not working toward it and still wondering, should I be?
Yeah, I'm a little bit there too, because my son started middle school, and I have a kindergartner, so I'm definitely in the throes of.
I know, that's like the double.
Yeah. Yes. It's funny because so my kindergartner is going to the same school as my middle schooler went to when he was in kindergartner. So first of all, it's amazing how fast time is. I know that's really cliche to say, but like he'll bring these papers home for these events, and I go, oh yeah, I remember doing that. I remember Apple Week. I remember the field trip to the farm is coming up, and I was like, oh yes, he did all these too. Wasn't that like last week? And I'm like, oh,
last week or a lifetime ago. To me, kindergarten feels like a lifetime ago.
Crazy. But no, I'm in the same spot with the career thing, because I definitely, on one hand, it's a midlife crisis. It has to be. Like, I want to almost start a new career. And the husband and I talk about it a lot with now that I kind of, I don't know, ran a conference for 6 years, I have a whole different skill set than what I did previous to blogging, which is what I'm doing now. Like, I'm doing scripting now. I'm coding HTML and JavaScript and stuff, which is what I'm trained to do. And it's fun, but I feel like I'm almost being underutilized this is my favorite part of the day, because we're talking, right? So I'd rather talk. I'm more of a people person. I'm an organizer. Yes. And I joked about, actually, when I was organizing FitBlog and actually doing the conference stuff, I would always have a event coordinator on the hotel side that you have to work with. And yes. I always said to them, every single one I've said to them, I'm like, I would love your job. I was like, I would be so good at your job. This seems so much fun. Because I do enjoy planning and doing event planning, but with the conference, I was doing event planning, but then also I had all the brunt of the event on the other end of it.
Yes.
Selling tickets, marketing. No, I want someone to come to me and say, here's my event, plan it. And I'll be like, okay, this is great.
See, then at least you know. I feel like
so I joked about changing careers and maybe going into more of a hospitality thing. And part of me is like, I really want to do that. I really want to do that. And then the other part of me is like, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. I cannot be spread into another direction. So I'm there with you with that. Yes, I'm not willing right now to give up. Yeah. I'm not willing right now to give up what it is that I have, which is the ability to be home with my kids when they get home from school, to start a new career, even though I feel like my soul kind of needs it. It's just not the right time. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing until maybe it is the right time. And then possibly when I'm 50, I will embark on a new career.
I got 3 years. Well, and I keep thinking of one of my favorite clients who would say to me, and I've talked about her before, but I need to find her somehow because she taught me so much. But I think I was 28. She was maybe 60 or 65. And she would always say, she came in 3 times a week diligently, did a little walking on her own. And she would just shrug it off and say, good gosh, I know I need to lose about 25 pounds. I'm just staying healthy. I love having dinners with my friends, cooking dinners with my friends. Lived in a retirement community, and her physique was a result of her lifestyle, but her internal health was also a result of her commitment to fitness. So it was that duality, and just that's the key, I think, when it comes to what I didn't love about the article, that last piece where it focuses on the weight loss, not the any day can be your New Year's and set new resolutions. It's the notion of it was blanket gaining weight, because to me, there's a huge difference between, oh my gosh, all the family convened in North Carolina from all over the country. We had the best holiday season. It was 3 weeks of fun and parties. And look at that. I gained 10 pounds. Where it was all in the name of pleasure versus depressive eating or whatever it is. Weight gain is not the same across the board. And it felt a little bit like at the very end, he kind of made it all seem the same.
Yes. Weight gain. That's interesting that you say weight gain, because I know, again, I don't know how much I weigh. But like I'm shocked at the changes in my body since now I'm going on almost 4 years of lifting heavy weights.
Yes.
It's 5 days a week. I do a lot of weightlifting, and my body is for sure different. I'm like solid as a rock, and I'm sure I weigh probably the most I've ever weighed in a really long time if I would get on the scale. But I know myself and my history, and I was like, I don't want to see that number. When I press on myself, I'm solid. I'm like, I am all muscle. I can see my muscle. My kids, I'll like reach up for something and they're like, Mommy, look at your muscles. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have man arms. And it took me a while to get into that. Like, okay, yes, I'm now muscular. Like, this is like my physique because I enjoy lifting heavy and I do it every day. This is the result. I can have big, bulky muscles because I'm one of those women that actually do put muscle on. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother conversation. I think we had that once before, where it bugs me when people say, oh, you're a woman, you won't get big when you lift heavy. And I'm like, well, it depends on the kind of woman you're on. Yes. Because I stopped doing bicep curls because guess what? My biceps get really big when I do bicep curls, because I'm one of those women. I must have higher testosterone, or I don't know, whatever it is, but I definitely, my muscles get bulky when I lift heavy weight. And so, and the husband really made me see it, because I would go, gosh, I feel like I'm getting bigger. He's like, you're lifting weight every day. What did you think would happen? I'm like, you're right. I don't know. Why am I complaining?
And so much of that, though, to a little bit tangent, is it's the good fuel you're consuming. Because I will never forget saying to I think he was my husband then, I was lifting hard, heavy 5 days a week, but not eating enough protein. And I said to him, I look like I've never been in the gym in my life. And he said, because we're honest with each other, and because if someone lies to me, I know.
You know,
said, yeah, you kind of do. And he's like, maybe you need to switch some things around, because it had been a little bit, but I had gone gluten-free and I was still figuring out everything. And I mean, this was like 90 something, but I wasn't eating enough protein and I wasn't fueling myself. So I was working really hard and I did not get any muscle. So you're fueling yourself with good stuff and you're going to get bigger. If you're really happy and spending time with your family and you quit working out for a few weeks, life is short. We don't know how long anybody has, and you gain a few pounds, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think I'm gaining a few pounds just from lifting heavy all the time. But I also know, like, my I just measure my success in a completely different way now. Cause now I measure it with, like, this morning, I hit a new record with my bench press, and I'm like, I just keep getting stronger. And so instead of looking at how my body's changing as the litmus test of whether or not I'm succeeding, I'm looking at, am I getting stronger? And then again, the result of that strength is the body that I'm in. You know what I mean? So I know I'm making positive changes, because for me, the goal right now is strength. Why, I don't know, which is a weird, it's a whole nother conversation. We'd have another podcast, which why feeling strong feels so good for me. It's like something I discovered so late in life. Like, you've always kind of been a,
well, and it gives you, though, the ability to do stuff. Like, I'm so proud of myself now, because my husband typically is gone Monday morning through late Friday night, when I can do, and yes, it's a stereotype to need men to do certain things around the house, but men are just inherently stronger oftentimes. I'm 5'3", he's 5'11", but when I can do those things and lift those things and not need help, it's really empowering.
Yeah, it's funny. I've always been one of those, because I was a bigger girl, I guess people always assumed I was stronger naturally. So I've always been those, like, I would move my furniture around my room when I was a teenager.
Yes.
Things like that. So that I never get. I really got attached to the feeling of just lifting more than I did last time, because I knew last time that was truly the most I could lift. And so I got addicted to that feeling of, holy crap, I am changing my body. Again, not aesthetically. Well, I mean, aesthetically, but maybe not aesthetically in the sense that we all think, you know what I mean? Like, that we're supposed to, quote unquote, as women, like, not seeking that kind of Victoria's Secret bottle, but like, or model body. But like, if bottle body, but if I bench, and I know in my heart of hearts, last year, I bench pressed, say, 100 pounds. And that was the most I could possibly, I was like, oh, like, it struggled and I got it up. Oh my God. And then I go back 4 or 5 weeks later and retest. And now I'm effortlessly pushing it up, and I get 5 more pounds. I'm like, wow, like, I did that.
Okay.
It's
which
like this sense of accomplishment.
Your picture you shared this morning. It's a sense of accomplishment, but it is born out of a
struggle.
Sometimes it's got to be, because I remember when I was really focusing on my bench,
it was
hard.
Yes. So what I wanted to bring to the table today, and
I love it.
It is a great transition. You did it again, Carla. I don't know how you do it, but
can I monetize that? Could that be my next career? Professional transitioner.
How to transition in a podcast. Well, although I think we were completely off track anyway. Yeah. So the what I wanted to bring in wasn't an article or something. It was just something I saw a couple of days ago that one of my friends posted on Facebook that she saw on Instagram, and it's just 6 little words. Stop trying to skip the struggle. That's it. Just black letters on a white. Stop trying to skip. And I just read it and I went, yeah, I need to stop. And I think it's one of those sayings that you immediately apply to whatever it is that you need to apply it to. So for someone trying to lose weight, I could say, yes, stop trying to skip the struggle. You know what? I got to just food journal, just mush through this, weigh myself every day. And I get, that would have been me, 8 years ago, whatever. And now for me, it's stop trying to, if I want to get stronger, then I got to go to the gym every day and I got to lift even those days I feel like I'm not, or facing. So for me, the struggle comes from the fact of getting over the humps of when you take a step backwards, which happens just like in weight loss. I'll pull everything from weight loss. You lose a couple of pounds 1 week, you lose a couple of pounds the next week, and then you don't lose anything the third week, or
because it's,
God forbid,
so much involved, the water retention, all
exactly.
of it.
You gain
so
a pound or
weightlifting,
whatever it is. Though that's like the point of the struggle, right there. Yes. That's the point where you either keep going or you throw your hands up and say, I'm done with this. And so I feel like that's where the struggle comes in. So it's the same thing when it comes to weight training. If you're strength training, you have a week, you feel great, everything's easy, this is amazing, I'm PRing all over the place, and everything I pick up I can easily lift, and then like the next week you go, oh, everything is so heavy. Why does everything feel so heavy? I suck at this. Why am I doing this?
Did somebody turn the gravity up? Because I am struggling today.
And I'm sure like hormones come into play.
Yes,
and, like,
everything.
Everything comes into play. And so I think the struggle is, and I catch myself doing it. Like there are some days where, and I'll say it to my friends. I have 2 workout partners and we work out every day together. And I say, today's a day I'm just going through the motions. I'm just going to go through the motions.
Yes, we would say I'm phoning it in. Don't even try to.
I'm going through the motions. I know I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to try to PR, like whatever. I'm just going to pick this weight I know I can do and just do
And is that
quo.
choosing to skip the struggle because I'm curious your thoughts on this, because you showed up? Is showing up enough? I would say
showing up is the struggle for me.
It's like we talked about in the book, sometimes staying right where you are is the biggest victory of all.
Yes.
Back to that article, October 1st, you may not commit to keeping healthy habits. You may really do what he said. I'm going to focus to stay the same through the holidays. My end goal may be still to lose 100 pounds, but I'm going to focus to maintain and not move. So is showing up, conquering the struggle and not avoiding it?
Showing up and possibly and finishing. So
yes,
my style of working out is very CrossFit-y. So we do generally a strength training, and then we'll do whatever the workout of the day, which is like a HIIT kind of, high intensity, whatever. And there's usually rounds involved, like do 4 rounds of, 10 push-ups, 400-meter run, 2 pull-ups, like whatever it might be. And
file this under things you will never see Carla doing.
It's something like I live
too much
for
of a
every
rebel.
morning.
Yes.
It's so funny to me. Like, I'm willing to get up at 4:30 in the morning just to put myself through this torture. But so the struggle for me is those days where I am off, which everyone has those days, and I'm just quote unquote going through the motions. I'm fighting myself the entire time of, maybe I'll just do 1 round. Maybe I'll just do 1 round today. I don't have to do all 3 rounds. No. Let me just start the second round. It's good. And then again, and that's where the going through the motion, I have this internal dialogue. But then when I'm done on those days and I did whatever the assigned workout was, I feel amazing. So even though I didn't maybe push myself with the weight as much as I should have, or I didn't run as fast as I could have, or, I didn't go through the moves as fast as I should have been or whatever, I did it and I finished it. And that to me is that struggle, instead of avoiding it altogether and not doing it, or using that as a reason not to go the next day. Like, yesterday I sucked, I'm not going in tomorrow. That's where all the struggles come from my perspective.
Now, is skipping the struggle, because I would venture to say yes, but I'm feeling very cynical about the world, is that something born of abundance?
Well, I think
too much convenience, and
yes.
It's so easy to skip the struggle. I don't know what to make for dinner, and they have 2 ingredients. I'm just going to order in.
Yes. Oh, that's a great example.
Because I start thinking we've made our life, because of this presentation I'm doing to my daughter's faculty and staff up at school, the thing they've focused most in on that they want to talk about is the blue zone notion of deconveniencing our lifestyle.
Yes.
Because they are still in the mindset of convenience is awesome. I'm going to email, not walk down the hall. There's a bathroom right next to me. There's one upstairs, but I'll use this one. So is that made our world almost struggle free? So it becomes our default mindset, as you say, to avoid the struggle.
Well, and it also comes from we are a culture of instant gratification, right? Yes, so everybody wants the Victoria's Secret model body without the struggle. And so, you know what I mean? Like if you really, really want to lose whatever weight or whatever, you have to go through that struggling path. If you really want to get stronger, you have to go to the gym every day. If you really want to write a novel, you got to bust your butt and sit in front of your typewriter every morning. Is
it that now, if given the choice, and again, I'm thinking more kids than anything else, stop trying to avoid the struggle. Are people just choosing that and being willing to give up the goal in the process? When I was in the principal's office for a meeting the other day, there was one of those bike desks where it's like the stationary bike. And it was all attached. It was one big thing. And then someone made the joke, and I know these things exist, where we should do that with the iPad. So in order to power your iPad.
Power, yes. Yeah.
I would bet my child in her lazy days would say, you know what? I didn't really want to watch the iPad too much. I'll just pass on that. So it's stop trying to avoid the struggle. The struggle would be doing the pedaling to get what they wanted. And I wonder how often we're willing to give up what we want, not even being angry about it or disappointed or woe is me, but I give up.
But wouldn't you argue then you don't really want it?
Yes. If you're willing to avoid the struggle. Yes.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people who want to lose weight would argue with you. because they know they really want it. Years and years ago, I remember corresponding with a woman on my blog, and she said, "Why isn't my desire to lose weight enough?" That I had this whole series of posts.
Interesting. Okay, and why would you say that?
Why isn't the fact that I want to lose weight enough to make me do the things to struggle to lose the weight? And I thought, and we had this fascinating discussion because I was there for so long. Like, I mean, for half my life, I always wanted to lose weight, but I was never willing to do what it took to actually lose the weight. I wasn't willing to do the struggle. And now, of course, hindsight, it's very easy for me to go back and say, oh, that's you just got to struggle. You just got to actually just do it. But when you're in the throes of it, you're like, I can't do it. It's not possible. And I've
been there with other endeavors. And
I
was
whatever
to a friend the other day, I want X. No, I don't, because I am not working toward it. So strike that. I'm not even allowed to say that I want it because I'm not willing to struggle.
Yeah. Same with me with the guitar right now. And actually the husband caught me. Yes. So yesterday I was practicing.
Turning off your habit app?
No, actually I didn't practice for like 4 days in a row. And it was just because I'm working too much. And by the time the end of the day would come, I lay in bed, I'm like, oh, I didn't practice guitar. I was like, oh, it's too late now. And and again, I'm not going to be like a musician and like I just want to be able to fiddle around with it. So it's not that important to me. I mean, it's important, but not the top priority.
Yes.
So last night I finally practiced after like a 4-day hiatus, and I was going through the exercises that I have in this app that I love. And he comes out of the shower and I'm like, oh, I suck at this. Like classic, like,
yes.
You know what I mean? And he's like, well, what do you tell Evan, my youngest? He's like, what do you tell Evan every day? Because my youngest is very, he may be the most self-driven person I've ever met. And it's fascinating to see it in a 5-year-old, you know, and him and his older brother. I know everyone says that kids are so different, but when you have two, you don't think they're going to be that different because you think, I had both kids, they same genes, I'm raising them the same way. How could they be that different? But gosh, they are night and day. Ryan is very laid back. He's just, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't really want it. Like you said, I don't really play the iPad.
Yes.
Evan, on the other hand, my 5-year-old, from the earliest age I can remember, even like 3 years old, playing basketball with our little toddler basketball hoop. If the ball did not go in the hoop, he would be angry at himself.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
He's like, I can't get it in. And I was, honey, you have to, you're like 3. Just keep practicing. You'll be fine. And he still does it. Like, we call it the letter game. We took a walk yesterday, actually. This was my wycwyc moment yesterday. He had to get apples for Apple Week. So we had to get 1 yellow, 1 green, and 1 red apple. So I have a grocery store about a mile from the house. They said, let's walk. So after dinner, him and I, we just hit a mother-son walk, and we walked and got his apples and walked back. So on the walk there, Mommy, can we play the letter game? Sure. Which basically is he picks a letter, and then we come up with as many words as possible that have the sound, that start with the sound of that letter. So again, he's learning how to read, so this is very relevant. So he'll say A, it will go apple, astronaut, and then B, it's bat, whatever, book. And we'll get to some of the harder letters, like, I don't know, he can't come up with one, or he runs out of words and he gets angry. He's like, I can't come, and he's crying. I cannot come up with any L sound words. Because first of all, he has a problem with L. It sounds like, he probably should see a speech. He's like, no, it's not reft, it's left. I'm like left. I'm like doing the L. So anyway, but he gets really mad. And I'm like, honey, I have been talking for 35 years, 40 years. Yes. I'm like, my vocabulary. And I always try to explain to him the difference. And he has tears streaming down his face. He's like, but I can't think of any more. And it's almost this he's just mad at himself for not being the best at coming up with words that start with the letter L. He does it with coloring. He goes out of the line. He's mad at himself. And I'm like, gosh, I don't know how to almost control that feeling or that reaction that he gets. And I started this whole story with a point, and I don't remember.
No, but with the guitar. So
with the guitar. So he comes out, and my husband says, what advice do you give your son when he says he sucks at something? And I go, to keep practicing. He's like, there you go. And I was like, okay, I have to keep struggling. I just have to keep struggling through. And the funny thing is, I've made progress, just like he has gotten better coming up with words, and he's gotten better at coloring. I have made from this, the start of this app to now is like night and day. I can now go through all these little exercises that I started with ease. But when I first started them, of course, I had to like keep rewinding it, trying it again. And now I just breeze right through it. But in the moment, you never see that progress. Like you never see the progress in the moment. Instead, you just feel the struggle and want to give up. And I feel like that's what that whole quote kind of meant for me. Like,
And making that not our default mindset of struggle, stop.
Struggle is too hard. I suck at it. I'm done.
Yes. And I think that is, I love that as a mantra, because something gets hard in life every single day. They're going back to the stop trying to avoid the struggle. Stop trying to avoid the struggle.
Right. Struggle is where the progress is made, really. I mean, that's when you suck at it. And I tell both my kids that. I'm like, you suck at something. Same thing with my oldest when he takes a test. I'm trying to get it to his head that test is another example of a learning tool, right? So when you take a test, you got something wrong.
Yes.
Now, when you review the test, you now know what you got wrong. And now you've learned that. And so next time you're tested on it, you should be better. It's the same, it's the same process. But I don't know, human beings have this, when it gets hard, we want to give up. It's in our nature, I guess. I don't know.
Seek pleasure, avoid pain.
Yes. That's how we're wired. I feel like I just went off on my kids again. Is that a mommy thing? That's weird.
Welcome to the wycwyc Progeny podcast. Okay, I do have a wycwycker of the week, and it kind of goes in with all this, because I think it's so important to remember as an adult, we look at Evan's struggle and we're like, dude, it is not a big deal. You can't come up with an L word. I'm afraid I won't get paid because I didn't submit something on time. Like that kind of thing. It seems tiny, but it's so big to them. And struggles, even from adult to adult, can seem small, but if it's a struggle, that notion of struggle is universal, whether the other person is struggling with something that you find simple or whether you're struggling with something that would come really easily to the other person. So you remember Christine Beeson.
I do.
Her.
Follow her on Instagram.
I love her. She's got so many just physical limitations. She's navigating around. She always has the best attitude. She is quintessential pushing through the struggle, being in touch enough with her body and its limitations to know when to push too hard and when to kind of not give in to the struggle, but sit with it. And she posted on Facebook the other day, happy post yoga smile. Wycwyc means I took it slow by going early, so I didn't have to rush myself and walk fast. I was slow getting up and down. Since I had extra time, I hopped on 3 weight machines. I did much lower weights, but it still counts. I can do what is at my ability level today, and it's enough. And I love that. It goes back to we don't struggle too hard because we do know what is too much, what's going to hurt us. But a little bit of struggle, doing what was to our ability that day, wycwyc.
That's awesome. I did see that post. It's funny. I saw that on Twitter, but I didn't see the whole post.
I loved it.
On Instagram. Okay, so I also have a wycwycker of the week, but it's an in real life wycwycker. What, IRL wycwycker of the week? Is that how you would say it? So I have a friend, and I don't think she listens. She might listen, but I doubt it. But she told me a story this morning, and she's been estranged from her parents for a really long time, like 20 years. Like, I've met her. I never met her parents because I met her after their falling out. And she texted me yesterday, and she just texted, I did it. I called my dad. And like, it's funny because I'm going to get teary because I kind of, it's even emotional for me because I have other family members that I'm kind of estranged
right
to and that I talk to. So this morning she told our little group the whole story about how nervous she was, and she finally decided she's going to be the bigger person and she's going to reach out and kind of extend that olive branch. And I thought, isn't that, we always talk about healthy living and weight loss and healthy wellness, but in the sense of doing something so small to kind of make a change in your relationships, at least to extend a hand to someone whom you might have had a falling out with, to be that person that takes the step to try to repair your relationship is like such an awesome wycwyc moment to go, this is the little thing I can do. I could be the person.
It's a small step that could have huge change results.
That I could be the person that takes the small steps, that extends the hand and says, is this something you want to do? Because if she didn't do that, and he didn't do, he wasn't doing that, then they'll never reconnect. Do you know what I mean? But I thought,
Yes.
what an amazing, like, little thing. And that's what wycwyc's all about, right? What are those little things you can do that really actually add up and make big change? And I don't know. I was really inspired by her.
I do love that. And I think it's so important because for me, wycwyc is about health and fitness, but it truly is my entire life.
It's about
like
life.
that woman.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. I can dig my heels in. And so I need to remember that taking that tiny step of just the quick text. Yes, I love that. It is small steps.
It's great. It's just
change.
a small thing. And she doesn't, I mean, she probably has, like, she knows about the book or whatever. She's not like on social media and tagging things and you know what I mean? And I didn't even tell her. I was like, oh, it's such a wycwyc thing. It's just like, you know what? That was awesome. So,
I think I've lost the green on my microphone, or can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay. Okay.
No
I thought I cut
worries.
myself off.
It's okay because we have reached the end of today's podcast. So I guess we will be wrapping it up and we'll be back next week with episode 34.
And I encourage everybody to take a breath today. It was so cleansing for me on Monday to kind of recommit myself and restart my, not technically year, but just think, who do I want to be? Where am I going? What am I willing to do for myself today? Don't wait till January. And that might be just maintain, but just conscious living.
Yes, agreed. On that note, we're out.
Wycwyc.
Wycwyc. All right, we did it.